Episode 785. Seeing Seven Leaf Flower playing the good guy again, a lot of the players in the team who were close to him started getting anxious. Borrowing equipment is no small matter, and how long have we even known this invincible, most handsome guy? Aside from his shameless name and impressive skills, they knew absolutely nothing about him. What if this guy is a con artist? What if he just uses that method to scam a full set of gear and bails? A dark thought surfaced in many minds, leading them to that very conclusion. If you think about it, Invincible Most Handsome just followed them to kill 3 bosses and walked away with a full set of gear. That's what you'd call a low investment, high return. Sure, no one had ever heard of a con artist using that kind of technique before, but there's a first time for everything, right? No one wanted to say it outright, but they were all privately messaging Seven Leaf One Flower, urging him not to trust this stranger so easily. But Seven Leaf One Flower wasn't convinced.
With skills like his, why would he need to cheat on his gear?
Seven Leaf One Flower answered truthfully.
That's exactly the mindset they're exploiting.
They pleaded with him, but Seven Leaf Flower was dead set on going his own way. His friends were still trying to talk sense into him when he'd already finished trading his entire gear set with Invincible Most Handsome.
Wear this set for now. Just hold on a bit.
Invincible's coolest handed over his embarrassingly weak gear to Seven Leaf Flower as well.
Good.
Seven Leaf Flower casually slipped into the outfit, while across the way, Invincible Most Handsome instantly mirrored the look, now dressed just like Seven Leaf Flower. Those players who had been deeply skeptical now had their hearts in their throats. The deal was done. If he were a scammer, he'd have quit the party and bolted by now. No need to waste any more time. Yet what they saw was Invincible Most Handsome stepping forward and triggering the mechanism. Then the 4th boss spawned, and they prepared to engage. Why does Invincible Most Handsome suddenly need this set of equipment for the 4th boss? No one bothered to question it. After watching Woody Zujun handle the first few bosses, and then considering the 4th boss's mechanics, even the casual players had a pretty good idea what was coming. The 4th boss was a summoner. Every undead it called forth was a loyal vassal, placing its master's safety above its own, with no thought for personal survival. In gaming terms, the aggro of these summoned undead is a perfect copy of the boss's own aggro. Wherever the boss's aggro went, that's exactly where these undead creatures' aggro followed. So the moment they were summoned, the MT was instantly surrounded. If Invincible Handsome had still been wearing that low-tier gear, he might not have been able to hold on at that moment. Because these summoned undead creatures don't generate aggro on their own. No matter how fierce the attacks against them, they only ever lock onto the target that holds the boss's aggro. So to pull them away, you have to use forced aggro skills like taunt or shout, lure them off, and then the DPS can go all out and blast them down. So this phase really demands a lot from every single team member. The knights had to react fast. If they dawdled and only moved after the undead had already landed several blows, the tank would have fallen long ago. And the DPS had to hit even harder. They needed to be ready for this phase well in advance. The moment the summoned creatures appeared, they unleashed their strongest firepower without hesitation. After all, the knights' forced aggro skills only last a few seconds, so those summoned creatures had to be killed within that window. With such demanding tactics, Invincible Best Looking's original gear had far too little margin for error. To keep him from falling, everyone's performance had to be flawless. The summoned creatures had to be pulled away the moment they appeared, and by the time the forced skill ended, every last one of them had to be killed. Invincible Handsome could take a few hits at most, then he'd be down for the count. But if they had the 7 Leaf One Flower gear, nobody would need to be this tense right now. Even if he was a beat or two slow pulling the summons at the start, it didn't matter. He could hold out. And if they couldn't finish him off within the time limit, letting the summoned creatures land a few more hits, he could take that too. Once they realized that, the players of the Joyful Sheep team found themselves in an awkward spot. It felt like that invincible and most handsome guy needed the gear to support them, not himself, but the rest of the team. This was to allow the rest of them to achieve perfect coordination under these circumstances. Though they understood this, no one had anything to say. A perfect coordination like that was simply too difficult. Everyone knows how to execute the strategy, but actually pulling it off is a different story. Back when their team's gear wasn't up to par, this phase was practically a gamble on luck. Every time a summon came out, whether it worked or not was pure luck, sometimes good, sometimes bad. As everyone's gear improved, the MT could hold out longer, and the DPS hit harder, so this phase just sort of muddled through without any major issues. As for Wudi Zui Junlang's original gear set, it was a direct challenge to their integrity, and a major one at that. Changing gear now? That was actually looking out for them. But it didn't have to be him. They could let Seven Leaf Flower tank it, and everyone would still get through just fine. In the end, Seven Leaf Flower generously lent the gear to Invincible Most Handsome, leaving the dark-hearted schemers worrying for nothing. Now that the boss had been pulled, the group finally relaxed and went about their business. And once Invincible Handsome swapped in the Seven Leaf Flower gear, he loosened up considerably. No more dodging and weaving like before. Sword in one hand, shield in the other, he just bashed straight into the fourth boss, as brutal as any DPS. Not long after, the players heard a shrill laugh ring out. The boss, having accumulated enough damage, finally initiated its first summon.
You all know what to do, right?
Invincible Handsomest shouted loudly.
No need.
Seven Leaf One Flower answered. Dude, Seven Leaf, can you not be so honest? Everyone was moved to tears. Seven Leaf Flower, now the off-tank, didn't complain at all. He lent out his gear and cooperated fully. Already a decent guy, he'd found a leader he truly admired, and his eagerness was so obvious it made everyone else uncomfortable. He fired off a taunt in a flash, and one of the newly spawned minions was yanked away before it could even take a swing at Wudi Zhu Junlang. Then the third, fourth, and fifth players didn't dare slack off either. Even though Invincible Most Handsome had swapped to Seven Leaf Flower's gear, that gear wasn't strong enough to ignore a mob's siege and hold out calmly to the end. They still needed everyone else to coordinate.